If you feel like your margins are razor thin and you constantly have to discount your products in order to actually see conversions, well, in this week's video, I'm actually going to cover 4 ways that you can start to charge more for your products and explain how you can start to have higher margins on your store entirely. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Spencer and I actually run a growth focused agency where we work alongside multiple 7 and 8 figure Shopify brands who definitely know what it takes to scale. And obviously to get to that kind of scale, you have to understand how to have strong margins in order to actually continue to grow. So with that said, first things first, before we get into the 4 ways, we have to understand what should your target margin really be if you are a Shopify brand, or essentially we need to define what is a good margin and what does it mean to actually charge higher and why does that matter? Well, if you ask me, I would say out of our most successful brands, they typically have anywhere between a 60% to 80% margin on their products. And when I say that, that means what the cost is to get the product landed, they still keep 80% of that. So basically your landed cost of goods sold should be $20 if your product is priced at $100. Okay, that would be 80%. Or if you have 60% or 70% margins, again, do the math, it would be $70 or $60, right? So those are the kind of windows that we want to look at for basically good margins, I would say. And obviously more on the north end is what I would say better in order for you to actually be able to scale. So for some of you who may already be there, then that's great. This video is still going to apply to you because you actually might be able to get more. However, if you are more of a higher price product, say you have an average order value of $300 or $400, well, then if you're more on the lower end of around 50% or 60% margin, you can still get away with that because you're ultimately still making a larger amount of cash per transaction. Okay. And so that's something that I just want to clarify right away. If you are a higher average order value, it is normal to typically have lesser margin. But if you are a lower price product, say like $50 or $60, you're definitely going to want to lean on the side of higher margin because of the fact that you only make so much profit per transaction. Now, the second thing that I need to call out before we get into the 4 ways is that you need to understand your business model. You actually may be able to charge more of a premium price after watching this video, which is my entire goal. However, just because you are now charging a premium and you're actually making more profit per order, but you see your overall sales volume go down, that may actually be impacting your long-term sales growth and ultimately the valuation of the business. Because depending on what your goal is of the business, most people want to build a valuable business so potentially they can sell it one day. You need to make sure that you have a large customer base. So just because you have really great margins, but say you're now attracting or collecting half of the amount of customers, that may not be the best decision for your business. For an example, let's say you have a $100 product and you have 80% margins, meaning it costs you $20 to basically land and produce that product. And at your current ratio, you get 1 conversion per 100 people that land to your store. That would mean that you basically make $80 in profit for every 100 people. However, say you change your price from $100 to $70 and you now actually have around 70 to 71% margin, but for those same 100 people that land on your store, you actually get 3 conversions. That would mean you're now making $150 for those same 100 people who land on your store. Again, if your product is $70, your cost of goods is $20, you have $50 in profit per order, but because it is more accessible to more people now, you get more conversions, which means in the end, you actually make more profit and you also collect more new customers, which is the biggest thing that I want you to understand before you go and crank your prices after watching this video, which I still want you to go out and consider. Even though you might have lower margins, you ultimately might be able to actually make more profit based on the conversions and also the 2 price tags that come along with every single customer. Price tag number 1 is the returning customer factor, where if you are a brand that obviously sells supplements or something like that, people are likely going to come back and purchase again and again. So every customer that you acquire obviously has an LTV. And the other price tag that you need to consider, which is the one that you can't really track, is the word of mouth and what that customer goes out and tells their friends and all of the other people that they know about your brand and about your product. So what I want you to do is just keep in mind that charging a premium is obviously what we want to do, right? We ideally want to have 80% margins and get 3 people out of 100 to convert. But before we get into the video, I needed to make sure that you understand that having a higher margin does not always mean more profit, especially if we're talking long-term growth of the business and your total amount of customers. With that said, if you can charge a premium the right way, which is what I'm going to show you how to do in this video, you will obviously go from making $80 per 100 visitors to the upwards of $240. So let's go ahead and jump into the first way to increase your product price. Now, the first way to actually increase and charge a higher price on your Shopify store is to simply just test it, okay? The tool that we recommend is called IntelliGems, and if you just go to their website and sign up, I will give you a heads up. It is a little bit pricier. With that said, this data and that investment that you make can ultimately help you make tons of money down the road. Now, I do want to have a small little caveat here that you need to make sure that you're collecting enough data. So if you're only getting 1 or 2 orders a day right now on your Shopify store, it's going to be pretty hard for you to get statistically significant data in order to have a decision that charging a higher price is better. Now, with that said, if you're a brand that is getting, a few 50 to 100 orders a day on your store, this is an absolute no-brainer for you to go and test, okay? If you have people that are shopping right now and say you have 50% margins or 60% margins and you want to see if you can push it up to 70 or 80, IntelliGems is an incredible way to just literally test it. Just test it and see what happens. And then from there, IntelliGems will actually give you the data because it plugs directly into your Shopify store to be able to see how much profit you're making at specific prices and also how many conversions you're getting at those prices as well. So the scenario that I mentioned in the beginning basically is covered with IntelliGems. They run the data and they run that system in order for you to understand what is the right price to maximize conversions and also maximize profit. So the first one is very simple. Just go and test it, okay? We recommend anywhere from 5 to 10% bumps, or if you want to go ahead and test the other way as well, maybe you feel like you're not getting enough conversions, you can also test a lower price. But again, keeping us focused here on the higher price side of things, you can just go and test a higher price and see what happens. Another reason why this is so much better than just going in and bumping your prices inside of Shopify and not testing it is because you're actually going to get the data on whether or not it is working, okay? It keeps all of the other variables the same. If you've been a Shopify brand owner for most of this year, you've probably felt a lot of roller coaster emotions from amazing high sales days and then super low sales days and then periods where you're like, I don't know what's going on, and nothing's really changed outside of just kind of the economy and everything that's happening in the world. So if you actually use a price tool like IntelliGems to test and get proper data, it keeps all of those crazy variables the same and just allows you to see the data purely on whether or not charging a higher price makes sense for your brand. Now, the second way to charge more of a premium price on Shopify is going to be actually harnessing in specific avatars for your ad funnels and for your traffic entirely, okay? This is something that I've seen brands use to not just only charge a premium, but also massively increase their growth because they take the time to better understand their customer and they build custom journeys for those people, okay? If you are able to relate with people and make them believe your claims and make them feel like you are the only solution that is going to work for them because you took the time to understand them, and then of course properly communicate it through your ads and through your landing pages, that is an incredible way to get people to actually convert and be willing to pay a higher price because they feel like you're the only solution, right? And what I'm talking about here is honing in on a very specific avatar in order to actually show that this product is specifically for them. There's a great example of someone in the space who recently scaled their brand to multiple 8 figures, and all they simply did was they took a commoditized product, and I won't actually say what the product is, just know it's apparel, which is probably the most sophisticated market there is, and all they did was honed in on one very specific male demographic and made all of their content and all of their customer journeys around that person and calling out all of their struggles. They also did the research to find out that this type of male avatar had disposable income, and so it was an incredibly scalable market for them, and they didn't have to really recreate anything crazy. They just had to go and find an avatar that needed their product, and they delivered. And so when you put all of your focus and attention on one specific avatar initially, that is again not only a great way to charge more of a premium because people feel like, wow, this is the only product that's actually for me, it also allows you to exponentially scale your business. So if you are struggling right now and you feel like nobody's buying your product, I would highly encourage you to, before you go and do a price test, to actually just focus in on a specific avatar, because not only will that help you get more conversions, it may also help you charge more of a premium on your products as well. What's going on, guys? Just jumping in super quick. I hope you're enjoying the video. I just want to mention that again, if you want to work with me and my team one-on-one and get access to our Q4 strategy and absolutely crush it this Black Friday, I'd highly encourage you to click the link in the description down below, head over to easymedia.com, fill out our application form, and make sure you book a time to speak with me so we could properly audit your business and help you make this Q4 one to remember. Let's go ahead and jump back into the video. Now, the third way to actually increase price. And now we're getting into a little bit more advanced methods here, but I think it's worth noting, especially for brands that are potentially doing 7 figures a year right now and wanting to do 8 or multiple 8 figures. And that thing is going to be optimizing your product, or basically implementing USPs to allow you to scale further. Okay, this is something that is one of the best ways to actually charge more of a premium, because when you add something that is so unique to your product that nobody else has, it forces the entire market to have to purchase your product if they want that specific function or USP or whatever it is. This is oftentimes in traditional marketing books referred to as introducing a new mechanism. So to give you an example, there's a brand out there called Kizik, and essentially what they did is they took shoes, which is everybody sells, it's a commodity, and they added a specific functionality that allows you to slide them on without actually having to tie your shoes or anything. You just basically put your foot right in and boom, your shoes are on. And they added some type of functionality down to the bottom in order to allow people to actually do that. That is a great example of introducing a new mechanism and basically innovating a product to charge a premium. There is nothing else out there like that. And now again, this is a great idea, so you have to give credit, and these are obviously not easy to come up with. But when we're talking about wanting to charge a premium, you have to honestly sometimes earn that right. You have to have something that is unique enough where people don't have a choice. They're like, wow, that is a great idea. I've never seen this before. I want this product. And so if you are the only option, or if you're the only well-known option, I should say, then that is something that is going to help you charge a premium. So if you are more of a product-driven founder, then that is where you should be jamming. That is where you should be putting all of your attention and thinking, how can I make this product better? What do my customers want? What is missing from it? Okay, whenever you're able to think through that process, and whenever you're able to innovate your product and simply make it better by introducing things that are unique to it specifically, that gives you an edge in the market and allows you to definitely charge not only a premium, but again, exponentially scale your business as well. So obviously when it comes to innovating products, that is a bit of an intensive process, and you do have to have a skill set and some knowledge of how to do that. But honestly, putting your time and energy into innovating your products and making them great is something that I cannot recommend enough for founders to do that are actually in this game for the long term and wanting to build a strong brand. And speaking of building a strong brand, that brings me to point number 4. The fourth way to actually charge more of a premium on Shopify is to start to associate your brand with macro influencers. I'm sure you've all seen the Mr. Beast and the Logan Pauls and the Kylie Jenners of the world who have gone from $0 to $1 billion with their companies with, to be honest, nothing too crazy of a product. It's not like they invented something brand new, and they did that because they have such a large audience. Okay. And so whenever you can find a way to collaborate with influencers, and I'm not telling you to go and pay Mr. Beast $1 million for an ad in his video, but what I am telling you is to start to go through that process. And now this is definitely for my brands that are getting close to the 8-figure range. When you start to associate yourself with really premium brands, and it doesn't actually have to be influencers. Another great example of this is partnerships with brands like Disney, or partnerships with the NFL, or getting licenses for those specific types of things. It pulls in more people to your brand, and again, allows you to charge a premium. So if I have to pick one out of the 4 ways here on how to actually charge more of a premium, it would really come down to branding. And again, what branding is simply associating yourself with other people's brands in order to pull them in. And again, branding can either be positive or negative, so make sure that you properly understand who you're associating yourself with and kind of what you're getting into. Nowadays, when it comes to building brand, you can actually do it way faster than you used to be able to do it. Okay, some of the brands that you see today, like Starbucks, McDonald's, Ford, all of these older massive companies, they had to build brand over time. It took 10, 20, 30 years to actually build a brand and have people understand kind of who they are and what they're all about. Nowadays, you can build a brand that used to take 30 years in literally less than a year, right? If we look at some of these companies that have absolutely exploded, they've done it through association. And that is what makes branding such a powerful way to charge more of a premium, because if people feel like they're buying more than just the product, they're buying something bigger and they're becoming a part of something, that 100% allows you to charge more of a premium because people want to represent what you're about. And so that is something that, again, if you have the ability to make those associations, and that's why I would even encourage you as a founder to go out and try to network with people, try to make those connections, maybe try to grow your own personal brand so you can connect with other people in the space, right? Doing things like that is, again, a long-term play to allow you to, again, charge a premium price, but also build a brand that is extremely valuable and gives you you the option to either sell it for a big chunk of cash or continue to run the business yourself. So with all that said, those are my 4 ways to charge higher prices on Shopify. If you enjoyed this video, all I ask is that you click the subscribe button down below. I post new videos every single Monday, and I try to provide as much value as I can to Shopify brand owners out there. Or if you're a multiple 6 or 7-figure Shopify brand looking to crush it this quarter 4 and want to partner with a growth focused team that understands what it takes to build a real brand, then I'd highly encourage you again to click the first link in the description below and apply to work with me and my team. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you again for taking the time to watch this week's video, and I'll see you next week.